Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Asana Ketano. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. And of course, it is a Monday morning. It is the last week in September. Can you believe it?
It flew by so quickly.
That's right.
Even though if we were to look back at what ought to have been the September celebrations that we've come to enjoy, even though we didn't have those particular events and enjoy it the way we ordinarily do, the month of September just came and went by virtually.
That's right. That's right. And we are fresh off our Sunday no movement day. So I guess everyone is well rested, I'd imagine.
You know, the jury is out on that if you ask me. I did not leave my house or my neighborhood per se. I was fully compliant.
Yeah.
But I did see people moving around. Yeah. And I'll be honest in saying that the fact that there is a store right up the street from where I live, yes, persons did go to the shop and purchase groceries and what have you.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's safe to say that in my little neck of the woods, people are very much adherent to the no move policy.
That's right. That's one down and another one to go, and we're just hoping that we can see the results.
Yes.
So that we don't have to have an extension of these types of measures. But we're going to be discussing that and much more in the show for today. So let's get into some housekeeping, and we're going to start you off with some motivation to get your day started. So our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Putting yourself first means that it may be necessary to say no to someone else in order to say yes to yourself. It seems to say ironically that if you can't take care of yourself for yourself, do it for others. Few situations in our daily lives mimic the wake-up call of an airplane emergency. So it's easy to keep putting self-care off. Easy, that is, until we get sick, overwhelmed, or exhausted, and suddenly don't have the energy to care for the people who count on us. That's when we realize we haven't been getting the oxygen we need to sustain ourselves. We begin to understand that taking care of ourselves is neither selfish nor indulgent. It's just plain practical. Whatever you decide, making some small gesture where you put yourself first every day will pay off in spades for you and the ones you love. The oxygen you need is all around you. Sometimes you just need to be reminded to breathe.
This eye-opener speaks to, in my opinion, the idea of selflessness and how far one is prepared to go to do for others, sometimes to the point of neglecting one's own self and personal needs. And so in life, we go through certain motions, right? Like if you speak to parenthood, there isn't anything that we wouldn't do for our children. And sometimes you just need a break, you need a peace of mind. Sometimes you say, you know what, today me first, at least so that I can, kind of reset and gather my bearings and stuff. Oftentimes we wait until we're overwhelmed. Too many things happening all at once, and we're dependent upon to solve or to fix it. But in the process of so doing, the world is not waiting to hear from you how you're feeling. The world is expecting that you, as the super mom or super dad or the super boss or whomsoever, will be there to make sure that everything gets put right. But at the same time, you may wake up and say, you know what, I have these mountains of problems that I personally need to deal with that I don't have the time to deal with. And so sometimes it's just a matter of saying, you know what, me first, at least for today. At least let me be able to, hit that reset button, figure myself out, and then I'll be good for others. And I think it's a universal message in a sense because oftentimes we don't put ourselves first.
Especially parents.
Especially parents,
Yeah.
because there's a measure of what I call altruism, where you give of yourself, and don't sit back and say, you know what, let me pamper myself today. You know, let me tend to my own needs today. We don't often do that.
No, for me, I always, when I hear this eye opener, I think automatically I think of parents. It can be used in many different scopes of life, but perhaps the most relatable is with parents. You have little ones that are entirely dependent upon you, and so the need to provide and the need to protect, it can definitely consume all that you give, or all that you possess to give. And I think the challenge is in using the usual airline example of putting on your oxygen mask first, is that you can only give what you have. If your child needs you to be compassionate, if they need you to be loving, if you don't have that within you to give, then they'll be short any way you take it. So that's one aspect of it, but I also go back to one very important thing that I think we miss so often. Your children are learning from you how to care for themselves.
Yep.
And so if they see that mommy or daddy just run themselves down as much as possible to provide, then they're going to have that same life. And if you reflect on how you feel running yourself down, do you want that for your child as well? So you teach them how to take a moment, and mommy gets her me time, or daddy gets his he time, and teach them that that's something that in their adulthood they need to be able to respect as well.
And that is so very important. We all need personal time and space to be able to self-reflect, to be able to heal ourselves in a manner of speaking, to replenish, etc. So it's very, very important.
All right, so that is our eye-opener for today. Hopefully it'll get you started with the right motivation that you need. And with that, of course, Isani, we're going to be checking in on our weather, finding out exactly what we can expect. So let's find out what the forecast is saying for today.
Good morning. Mainly fair conditions to prevail. The 24-hour forecast: sunny with a few cloudy spells today and partly cloudy tonight. Showers and thunderstorms will be isolated. High temperatures for today will reach 88 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 94 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 82 degrees Fahrenheit in the mountains. Low temperatures for tonight will be 81 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 66 degrees Fahrenheit in the hills. Winds over the open sea will be from the east at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea conditions will be slight. Low tides occur at 8:44 this morning and then 7:33 tonight. High tides at 2:40 this afternoon and then 1:44 tomorrow morning. The moon will set at 11:14 this morning, then rise at 10:30 tonight. Sunset is at 5:44 this evening and sunrise at 5:42 tomorrow morning. The extended forecast for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for generally fair conditions, with showers or thunderstorms being isolated. And in the tropical weather outlook, at 3 a.m., Hurricane Sam was centered near latitude 15.2 north, longitude 51.4 west, or about 800 miles east-southeast of the northern Leeward Islands. Sam was moving to the northwest at 8 miles per hour, with maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour. Then, there is an area of low pressure associated with the remnants of Peter, a few hundred miles east-southeast of Bermuda, which has a medium chance of becoming a tropical depression over the next couple of days. Also, there is a broad area of low pressure located several hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands that has a medium chance of developing into a tropical depression over the next couple of days. And then there is a tropical wave off the west coast of Africa, which has a medium chance of becoming a tropical depression during the next couple of days. And this has been this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service.
All right, so that's what we can expect for today. Sunny with a few cloudy spells, and definitely warm because there's not a whole lot of breeze out there right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to thank Crystal Rosales for that update for today. We're going to keep moving, and it's time to shift gears and get into Eye on the News.
So there is a very heart-rending story that has captured the attention of many of us, and to some extent, unfortunately, it's a story that some families can relate to, having to deal with either the loss of a loved one, or having to deal with the circumstances of dealing with a loved one who is teetering on the brink, so to speak, battling, trying to save or fight for his life. I say that in the context of a shooting incident that happened on Saturday evening, Marlene. Around 5:25 p.m., 15-year-old Dwayne Gabriel took a short run to the store to purchase packed bread for himself and his family to have supper that evening. Unbeknownst to him or his family, that he would be gunned down while inside the store. This happened on Pickstock Street, and we have an account from the mother who gives a very, very emotional testimony of what took place on Saturday. Before we get into that, however, I want to reflect on the broader picture of what is plaguing us in our society. This young man, a third form student at SJC, is the 8th young man to be gunned down within the span of the last 3 months. And so it speaks to a particular problem that we're having, more so in Belize City, where you have gang activity that has taken hold of a lot of young people in various neighborhoods. I am not saying that young Dwayne was a member of any of these opposing groups. I'm simply saying that the circumstances of what is taking place, that will be an angle for investigators to look at. Nonetheless, we're saying, look, at 15 years old, this young man had everything in front of him. What his prognosis is at the moment, I cannot tell you. Suffice to say that the last understanding we had was that he had a very slim chance of surviving this ordeal. Marlene, when you look at what the mother was saying, how she expressed herself, and the deep sorrow and the emotional nature of what is being shared with the public, it is gut-wrenching. For any parent to have to deal with such a situation, right? Yeah. Where you go out of your way to provide for your children, to make sure that they are safe, to make sure that they are fed, they are sheltered, they are taken care of. And in a moment like that, things get taken away from you. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the entire country yesterday, and also we'll continue to see that, we're still trying to process, especially after hearing the anguish from the mother in that video, trying to process how we're here again. I think, Dwayne was, by all accounts, a boy that was seeking to fulfill his potential. There's a video floating around with him doing a presentation for school, all dressed up in his necktie with the Belizean national anthem playing in the background. And you hear an intelligent young man fulfilling school duties, and clearly I think it shows how much potential we have been robbed of so far. Yeah. Now, as you said, we are praying for his recovery, and seeing the images of the shooting, because I think in the beginning people thought, well, maybe it was just an accidental shooting. It is very clear that it was execution style. But bringing it back to the larger issue, Isani, I think for me, one of the things that I kind of tried to process through all of this was we have been diverted, if only momentarily, for the last year and a half, focusing on the pandemic that we're facing. And we hear of these incidents here or there, and we say, how is it happening? But let's not be mistaken. There was and continues to be an epidemic of gang-related crimes in this country. Gang-related crimes that has continuously robbed families of young men who have not given all that they can to society. And we're talking both about those who are involved in gang-related activities and those who unfortunately have become collateral damage. We have seen it for years. And we have seen where some of the mitigation efforts have spanned from community policing to interventions, to work programs, to state of emergencies. And it is not an overnight problem to fix, but it does take a strategic response. And I think the question that we ask today is, what are we going to do? The pandemic has its own process that we're going through, but what are we going to do about this epidemic?
Yeah.
Dwayne Gabriel is one example of hundreds. When we look at the death toll over the past few years, this problem did not start overnight. It won't be resolved overnight, but we must start making steps towards, one, keeping our boys in school, two, ensuring that families that are vulnerable are taken care of and will ensure that their children won't turn to gang life. Three, that there are sufficient consequences for those who make that choice or for those who recruit these young, impressionable men, young boys, into these gangs. We have to look at what we are going to do to, we may not be able to save all. Some who are ingrained, there has to be a strategy for that. But how do we stop this process? I think one of the things that people looked at when they saw the stills of the shooting is that the shooter himself looked very young.
Yeah. And that is that is what we're seeing today, where it's little boys who are recruited, as you said, by older men to carry out these hits or these executions, or these acts of gun violence. Again, Marlene, when I look at the broader picture, right, you look at the fact that we lost the 17-year-old aspiring athlete who was shot and killed in an ambush last Sunday. Then there was the 15-year-old who was killed in the latter part of the week, where his body was discovered in the Vista Del Mar area.
Yeah.
Granted, his mom tried everything that she can to get him off the street and to get him enrolled in a program, and well, it still happened the way it did, unfortunately. And now we're looking at another situation where a third farmer at 15 years old is, experiencing or going through that same thing. And then you also look at Casman Gill, who was also shot. He's a high school student at SJC as well, albeit in a different neighborhood. He too is a victim of gun violence, and his family has had to go through this tragic ordeal of being able to be by his bedside, trying to get him to, fully recover and trying to get him through the whole medical process to recovery. I'll stick up in there for the time being, Marlene, and go to a portion of what was being shared by the mother in her testimony yesterday. Again, it's very difficult to watch all of it. We've selected a short extract to share with you so that you viewers can, who haven't seen it as yet, would be able to understand the plight of this mother.
I never do something like this in my life. I never choose to go live. But I want everybody to feel this pain where they feel inside. Right now, my baby not dead yet. He not give up yet. They try with he not give up yet. And he know what give up because he not done yet with this earth. He not give up. My baby not give up. I appreciate the condolence, but I don't want it because he not give up yet. I want everybody know that my baby not give up. I know they have to talk violence. I know they have to talk negative. But I want to tell the parents of that person who shoot my child. I want to look that parent in the eye and I want that parent to know that today and yesterday when they take my baby from me and they hurt my baby, they hurt me. And you know what, parent? I hope you know that you did a bad job raising your child. Because your child chose the street. And my child never chose the street. My child chose the dream. I want you to know that. And I want everybody out there know that when I do to my baby, it's unjust because my baby is not a gang person, so you never know how to fight back. You know why? I do all the fighting for he. When anything he comes to me and I do all the fighting and he fix it. When it was done. When you know stop hurt them babies. Give them a chance to grow in a life. Stop hurt them babies. I always watch the news and I always cry and I always say, I say, Father God, I don't want to pick up my baby. But you know what? Yesterday I pick up my baby. I pick up my baby for half of the ground. And I pick up her and I pick up her and I never know how to fix it yesterday. Yesterday when they do to me hurt me. I hurt bad. I hurt. I don't know if I could get back my strength, but I hurt. I hurt. And I want the world to understand that I forgive the person who hurt my baby. I believe in a God. And God said you have to forgive. And I want that person to know that God called for people like he. Jesus called for people like he. I know bitter yet. I know bitter yet against her. And I want to tell her in a
So yeah, that's the mother of Dwayne Gabriel pouring her heart out in the wake of what has happened to her minor son, 15 years old.
Yeah, you know, it's tough to listen to. But we've always maintained that when crimes like these happen, the worst thing we can do is bury our heads in the sand and just say, here's another one. There are families that mourn this loss, their friends, his schoolmates, his extended family, his community members. And this time, like we've seen before, the community is also responding. But I guess for me, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. We have to stop believing that hashtags and a lighted candle, while they're a great homage to the person who lost their life, is going to solve it. We have to ask for the solutions that are going to be implemented. And let me be clear, this is not the sole responsibility of the Belize Police Department or the Ministry of Home Affairs. It has never been. It is a collective responsibility.
Yeah.
It is about ensuring that, as I said before, children stay in school, families have support, that there are alternatives available if the school system is not meant for them, that there are interventions in place when you start to see them going down a path where you know they can be easily recruited into gangs. And Isani, you know more than anyone that very often it is simply a circumstance of what street you grew up on, to look at your vulnerabilities, what you were born into. You had no control where your parents would live. But that alone becomes your vulnerability as to whether or not you will end up in this type of life?
I was on a personal note. So I had this very same conversation with my parents on Saturday morning, ironically, to say that when they decided to move into the neighborhood, the community that I grew up in, many years ago, there wasn't the scourge of gang violence at that time. So they found a piece of land and they said, okay, well, we're going to build and start our family and move into this community. And it was very peaceful for the most part until things changed. And so while they did their utmost to make sure that as their kids, we were taken care of, when you walk out of your front door, it's all around you, right? Gang culture influence is everywhere. It's pervasive, right? And so it is difficult. You can't be there with them every step of the way. You will try to do everything that you can to ensure their safety. But look at what happened. The other aspect of the testimonial shared here is that the mother says she has been kneading flour several nights in a row. This was the one time that she said, okay, go and buy the bread. And in that split second, in that short moment, this is what happened. Yeah. So it's you can't be there every step of the way. Yeah. You will try, but there are certain things that you really don't have any control over. It's the same thing with the communities and the neighborhoods in which we grow up in. Everything is so segmented. Everything is so divided based on the street, the neighborhood, and what have you. And even if you're not involved, you're painted as such. It's like a guilt by association kind of thing. Yeah. And it's a social issue more than anything else, Marlene. You've mentioned that this doesn't fall squarely on the police department, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Department of Youth Services. It is a we thing. It is a collective responsibility that we need to be able to share and be able to work on.
Yeah. And I always challenge people with that. We want our streets to be safe. Okay, what are we doing about it? Because the pointing the fingers and the blame game doesn't really help to get anywhere. Yeah. But of course, we'll be having a more detailed breakdown of the story in our newscast tonight. And that's just one of the stories that has really been on the minds of Belizeans.
The other, Marlene, is the appointment of a new chief executive officer for the Carl Hirschner Memorial Hospital. Yes. We've been covering this for several weeks. Yes. Initially, there were two candidates that were, well, they applied and so automatically they were shortlisted, right? We had Dr. Michael Tewes in the first instance and Nurse Chandra Cancino. Now, everybody would know Dr. Tewes from his profession as a veterinarian. He was also involved with U.S. Capitol for a couple of years in the search for oil in the South. And we also know Nurse Cancino from her role as one of the managers, general manager of the Social Security Board.
Yes.
And so when it was initially announced that Dr. Tewes had been appointed, there was a release that came shortly thereafter, sort of retracting what was put out there in the first instance. And so we also had Dr. Andre Sosa with us as the chair of the KHMH authority, who had mentioned that within 2 weeks of that particular appearance here, someone would be selected. And in this case, it has been Nurse Chandra Cancino.
Yes, he was very clear in that interview that in fact the other alternative was that Nurse Cancino would most likely be the candidate, as they had two applicants. And so that was confirmed. He'd also said right on this show about talking about the board and the responsibilities that they have and ensuring that they have the best interests of the hospital and the country at heart. Interesting enough, we have reports of changes within the board structure as well, in addition to the naming of a new CEO. So that will also be something that we'll be expanding on further, finding out from them what the new vision is moving forward. And of course, looking at what is happening it's a tough time to be able to take over. We know the KHMH is still struggling with keeping up with COVID cases. And while, we might be diverted from talking about the COVID situation in the country, trust me, it's a reality for the healthcare workers there at KHMH, one that they can't escape.
Yeah. So we're hoping to have an interview with Nurse Cancino at some point to get her vision of where she wants to see the National Referral Hospital go under her tenure as CEO. Again, like you said, it's a very tough time. It's a challenging time for the healthcare system on a whole, let alone the KHMH, which has its own challenges to deal with, including or notwithstanding the scourge of COVID. Right,
and there are other things happening as well. On Friday, the late evening news was that we have made significant progress, successful in fact, in getting 84%, about 84% of bondholders to take the discounted offer that was made. Of course, we know that government is in the process of purchasing back the bonds, the super bond, so that we can shift to a blue bond. And the very important target was to be able to get 75% of bondholders to take the discounted offer, and they are at 84. So they have extended, I believe, till mid-October, the offer for the remaining bondholders. But it does seem that you know, the efforts that were made and all the lobbying that was done has been successful. And we'll be providing more detail on that as we move forward this week as well.
Definitely.
Similarly, the Prime Minister returned from New York after giving his address at the United Nations.
That came late on Friday as well.
Yeah, he took the podium right around news time.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about it is that we were expecting that because, you know, his schedule had been made public to us in the media. But nonetheless, he spoke on several matters, including climate change and, most importantly, the ravages of the COVID pandemic on our economy, on our people, and in our overall state as a nation. Yeah. And so that address was delivered before the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly from its headquarters in New York on Friday. So I believe more will be extracted from that speech that you can, of course, watch this evening at 6 o'clock. I guess that rounds it out for us this morning with the Eye on the News. Again, you can catch these stories and more at 6 p.m. on Channel 5, News 5 Live, or you can catch us on YouTube and Facebook as well.
And moving into today's show, as we closed off on Friday, one of the big stories that I think that has really highlighted an issue that we have seen more frequently is the loss of another pregnant mother or a mother who just delivered her baby to COVID-19. Now, this is a situation that healthcare workers have been warning about. Pregnant mothers, expecting mothers have been facing very severe complications. We've lost a few of them so far, and so today we're going to be putting our focus on why maternal deaths and why there is the increase in maternal deaths, and why pregnant women are such a complicated situation to deal with. So that's going to be the first part of our show for today.
The second part of our show is to discuss vocational trade schools and how they have adapted to online learning during the course of the pandemic. So that's our second topic of the morning.
All right, so that's what we have in store for you today. We're going to go ahead and take a break. But before we do, we got a birthday shout out, and we are saying happy birthday to
Caristan Harris Dawson. There she is.
All right, we hope you have a great day today, and that comes from all of us here at Channel 5 and Open Your Eyes. With that, though, we'll take our break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the risks of COVID-19 for expecting mothers. So please stay tuned.
Bringing people together has always been SMART's mission and passion. That is why we are proud to have built a locally independent quality network from the ground up that spans the country with over 100 sites. We continue to add more affordable mobile data packages, broadband speeds, and voice services to meet your personal and business needs. SMART has set the standard of true competition with the most competitive prices on all services offered. We invite and welcome you to join the Smart family, where the value for your dollar matters. Smart will continue bringing new technologies, more affordable prices, network expansions, and people together. Smart, bringing people together.
Imagine going through your entire day without the burden and risk of carrying cash on you. Belize's shift to digital wallets has begun with eCash. We can now skip the cash when collecting money or paying for our essentials, all while using a fast, easy, and secure platform. Simply add funds to your wallet via bank transfer or at an agent, and you're good to go. You will be able to make quick, easy payments simply by scanning QR codes. And best of all, it all happens just like that. Payments are as easy as clicking a link online or scanning a QR code. Download the eCash app from the Google Play and Apple App Store today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. The future is here with eCash. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257 to find out more.
At Belize Diagnostic Center, we offer FDA-approved PCR testing for COVID-19. Get your results as quickly as 1 hour. Don't risk getting exposed to COVID-19 by going elsewhere. We take appointments, or we can come to your home or office using our concierge service with no additional fees. We have 10 locations countrywide. Call or WhatsApp us at 613-TEST. That is 613-8378 to schedule your test today.
Yashek Conservation Trust works to protect the Maya Golden landscape through enforcement patrols, biodiversity monitoring, freshwater monitoring, to conserve wildlife and their habitats. We work with the MGL communities to promote beekeeping, Inga Ali cropping, fire management, agroforestry, and raises awareness to maintain a healthy environment for everyone.
This Monday on Get the Facts. Why do people with pre-existing health conditions have an increased risk of contracting COVID and becoming fatally ill? And as we celebrate Wellness Week, we take a look at the importance of well-being during the pandemic. Get the Facts features Deputy Regional Health Manager for the Central Health Region, Dr. Melissa Diaz-Musa, Focal Point for NCD and PAHO Belize, Dr. Jorge Polanco, Technical Advisor for HECOPAB, Kathleen Cho, and nutritionist from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Robin Daly. The show starts at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, September 27th. Catch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Send your questions to 672-5555 or via Facebook using hashtag #GetTheFacts.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
And welcome back. We have been joined in studio by Dr. Marcelo Puyi, He's an obstetrician and a gynecologist at the Belize Medical Associates. Good morning, Dr. Koyi.
Good morning.
Good morning to you all.
We have also been joined via Zoom by Dr. Natalia Lagespada-Beer. She's a technical advisor at the Maternal and Child Health Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Good morning, Doctora.
Hi, good morning, Isani, and thanks for having me today.
All right, so our topic, as we mentioned prior to the commercial break, is to discuss maternal mortality and what we've seen as somewhat of a increase in the numbers of persons who have died either immediately after childbirth or during pregnancy due to COVID-19. Let's begin by looking at that particular picture that is being painted before us, Dr. Koyi, sorry. The most recent instance was Friday, where a woman passed away after having delivered earlier in the week via C-section. What are we looking at in terms of either the factors that come to play here that results in this kind of mortality?
Well, with pregnancy, to begin with, a woman who is pregnant is more at risk. One is that changes in pregnancy. For example, the bigger the pregnancy, the bigger the effect on the diaphragm. So women already normally without COVID, towards the last 3 months have problem to breathe. You know, they get short of breath very easily. Then in pregnancy, it's a slight immunodeficiency, naturally, physiologically. And the reason for that is that at the time of conception, half of the genetic material is foreign to her. It's from the male person. So there are some changes that decreases the immunoeffectiveness because they want to make sure that you don't reject that foreign material from the father. So women already begin with a negative, you know. Now pregnant women don't get it quicker than the non-pregnant. They get it depending on where you are on your risk, right? But if they get it, they then run the same like everybody. You know, 80% of them are asymptomatic and mild and nothing happened. But when they do get into the severe, the moderate and the severe, that's when we get into trouble, particularly in the third trimester. There they have problems because one is that they already have some respiratory compromise because of the pregnancy, and if you get a pneumonia, the early part or initial part of the COVID-19 infection, it makes it worse, you know. So yes, you know, they do, in the third trimester, there is increased risk to the pregnant woman.
Dr. Beer, let's lay out the situation here too in terms of numbers. This is a very important situation for us because maternal mortality is something that's measured across the globe. At one point, I think we had 0 maternal mortalities. In other words, there were no deaths recorded for the year. With the COVID-19 situation, where are we at now?
Yes, Marlene, for this year, we have recorded 11 maternal deaths. Almost half of them, 45.5%, are due to COVID. And we have 2 cases of hypertensive disorders during pregnancy, meaning high blood pressure issues. One patient with cardiac disease that got complicated, one with sepsis, which is a generalized infection, and 2 postpartum hemorrhage. This put us at a rate of 152 per 100,000 live births, and this is carrying up our numbers to earlier years where we had more than 100. The Ministry of Health and Wellness and the governmental bodies have priority for reducing maternal mortality and reducing child mortality. So, although some may say we are utopic, planning for or expecting 0 maternal deaths, we always encourage, our staff to go the extra mile so that we can reduce as much as possible the numbers of maternal deaths. Maternal death is defined as the death of a woman during pregnancy up to 42 days after delivery. That is the definition for maternal deaths. So it's an issue for us, and other countries are experiencing same as us. Their maternal mortality rate is moving 1 decade or 2 decades to where they were before, and because of COVID. And so we are seeing now the effect of COVID in increasing our maternal mortality rate as a country.
Now, I guess the question is, as you outlined, Dr. Koi, is it being a usual part of pregnancy for women in this country is that they go to the clinics, they do their regular checkups, and they kind of monitor how their pregnancy is going over the course of time. These clinics are now, with lines of persons being swabbed for COVID-19, perhaps not the safest place for a pregnant mother to go. So where is the messaging, or how is the information getting to them about their vulnerabilities for COVID-19 or other vulnerabilities that may be tied to their pregnancy?
Yeah, that is true, that the services that we are providing to the general public is a bit reduced because we all know that we have shortage of staff. And even though we have shortage of staff, now we have the staff subdivided in the regular services, in the flu clinics, in the COVID wards, and now at the vaccination sites. And we know that vaccines contribute to reduce the number of infections. Vaccines contribute to reduce the severe illness requiring hospitalizations. And we know that vaccines reduce the number of deaths due to COVID-19. Hence the reason to encourage the population that are eligible for vaccines to get vaccinated. And the public health nurses and the rural health nurses, the gynecologists, they're still providing services on a regular basis to women during pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum period. Yes, we have a negative effect from COVID, where women fear to go to the hospital because of coming in contact with patients that may have COVID. So we understand that. So the mobile clinics continue, but services must be provided at the health facility, especially when we are doing the routine laboratory screening for our women. Those services are only available at the health facility. We definitely try our best to maintain, the physical distancing at these facilities, reducing the contact with the health personnel, but we know that we are not where we were before COVID, not as yet.
Dr. Koi, may I ask this question, a rather general one? How does it work in terms of childbirth with a mother who is COVID positive, but you're delivering a newborn? Does that baby born with COVID? How does that work? Can you explain that for our viewers?
No, there's not what you call vertical transmission. It doesn't pass, no. Though the woman, as I said, the majority of the women are asymptomatic or mild disease, so you treat them like any other laboring person, except they go to a different part, and in the delivery you do the full, gowning and what have you. You do infection control, and they're managed the same way as any other pregnant lady, except for the breastfeeding is not contraindicated, provided they do the same washing of hands and what have you, using of masks. The problem area are the ones who have the moderate to severe disease. Those are the ones that are challenging, as I mentioned, because they do get more serious than the non-pregnant person. And it's challenging. I think that in terms of therapy, I think we were discussing it, it's the same therapy that we use for the other persons who are serious, As soon as they get into the hospital and they are have evidence of a pneumonia. You know, they are short of breath, on walking, their pulse oximeter is below 94. You give them the same therapy that everybody gets. You know, they get their steroid therapy, they get their antiviral therapy, they get anticoagulation if you know. Nowadays, some places, not all places, have what you call monoclonal antibodies. If it's there, you use them the same way. You use antibiotics because you usually secondary infection. The treatment is the same.
Yeah.
The problem with pregnancy, as I told you, is that they already have some sort of respiratory problems to begin with. Two is that you cannot put them on the prone position, which
What do you
is
mean?
Becoming
face down,
Yeah.
which is a better way of ventilating the lungs, no?
Oh, yeah.
And so the general consensus is that anybody who has severe disease should be delivered either by induction or by cesarean to try to make it better to treat the mother without the baby being there.
Is it safe?
It's a hard decision sometimes. It's like, but because the baby may be premature, it may be at 30, 32 weeks, you know. But we obstetricians are faced with that kind of situation commonly. For example, a person who fits from what we call eclampsia, that pregnancy has to be terminated at whatever gestational age it occurs.
If someone has COVID-19?
No, if somebody has eclampsia.
Oh,
So I'm just saying that's the same decision that we need to do because we need to save the life of the mother. It's a similar thing with severe COVID, with somebody who's hospitalized and has pneumonia and all the other symptoms. A decision has to be made to deliver the lady, either by induction or by cesarean. And the quicker you make that decision, the better. Because if you delay it, you're going to end up in more mortality and morbidity.
Let me. I mean, that's going to take a while, I think, to sink in for people hearing that. But let's come back to the treatment portion. Very often, expecting mothers are fearful of or cautious of what to put in their bodies because they know they pass it on to the babies.
Right.
How safe is the medication that's being administered?
Well, what we do with drugs is that we have a classification system, type A, B, C, D, or X. A means that you could use it with no problems. Tylenol, iron, prenatals, and most antibiotics. And X means you don't use it, period. D, you try not to use it unless there is a big risk. No? Most of the drugs that they use in the therapy and the treatment of COVID-19 at the hospital level are basically in the B level. Okay, so they can be used with pregnancy without having any deleterious effects on the fetus. So that's not a problem.
Yeah. Dr. Beer, can you help us understand just what the level of hospitalization is for pregnant women as well, and whether healthcare workers are faced with the very tough decision that Dr. Koyi just outlined, where there has to be a priority over the mother in saving the life?
The number of pregnant women that we have with COVID-19, since last year when we started in third quarter to screen all pregnant women at week 38 of pregnancy. And if they were to have an imminent delivery before 38 weeks, then they would get screened upon admission. So we have recorded 402 pregnant women positive for COVID. I would just like to highlight that the majority of these women, I think a little over half of them, were diagnosed because they were close contact of a positive, meaning there is some gap, in maintaining the safety precautions even at home or with their co-workers that are infected, or with other persons that they come in contact with that maybe they know they were positive or maybe they did not know they were positive. So that poses a challenge to us because while we screen, let's say 7,000 women per year, those that are positive, half of them are due to coming in contact with positive persons. The number of hospitalizations have increased. I only have the figures for the general population, including pregnant women. And what we are seeing is that only 6.9% of the hospital admissions and even deaths, 6.9%, are persons vaccinated. And when I say vaccinated, I mean that they got the 2 doses of vaccines that we are offering. The rest were the majority unvaccinated, about 85%, and then roughly about 10% with 1 dose of vaccine. So I think the numbers are clear, giving us the evidence that with our local numbers, what we know and what we read in the literature, that the vaccines protect against hospital admissions and they protect against death due to COVID-19. And this is applicable for pregnant women also. But there is a clear difference. The outbreaks that we had last year due to COVID-19 in the last quarter of last year, we had 2 maternal deaths due to COVID-19. And this year, well, we have already 5. So with the circulation of the Delta variant now, the Gamma and the Alpha, well, we know that we are in serious problem and we need to increase the vaccination coverage, not only among pregnant women, but also among the general population, because they do come in contact with pregnant women. So it's another way of protecting pregnant women against COVID-19.
How do we fine-tune the message in order to build the kind of confidence that is necessary for pregnant women to come forward and get vaccinated? Because the understanding is that there is a sort of an apprehension by pregnant women to get inoculated. So how do we deliver that message that they would be safe or sure enough that getting the vaccine is the right thing to do?
Maybe I can start off and then Dr. Curry can continue. The NITAG look at the evidence out there related to the provision of vaccines to pregnant women. And the International Federation of Gynecologists and Obstetricians, as well as the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, recommends the vaccination of pregnant women with COVID-19 vaccines. It's true that there was no trial among pregnant women, but there is surveillance systems in place when a woman gets vaccinated and knowing that she's pregnant, then they would follow through with that pregnancy. Or women who got the vaccine and before receiving a second dose, they got pregnant. Shortly after getting the vaccine, those women would be followed through. And the evidence is overwhelming that there is no risk for pregnant women and there is no risk for the unborn child because of the use of the vaccine. So looking at our data, the Ministry of Health and Wellness did request from the NITAG to provide recommendation on this. What they have seen now with the latest data is that while the risk overall is low for pregnant women to get infected with COVID-19, what they're seeing now is an increase of severe illness among pregnant women, and increase in the need for ICU among pregnant women. So we use data to make decisions.
Yeah.
And so far, we are recommending as a country that pregnant women receive the Pfizer vaccine.
Yeah.
And that is based on data that is being recollected. All vaccines are safe, but the vast majority of the data is coming out from pregnant women with Pfizer vaccine. So we decided to recommend Pfizer vaccine. That doesn't mean that if a woman receive a first dose and then get a first dose, let's say of AstraZeneca, and then got pregnant, then her second dose can continue be AstraZeneca. But if the woman is pregnant and have no vaccines, then we would recommend for her to start with Pfizer. And we do have Pfizer right now that we are providing in country.
And I guess a added benefit of Pfizer is that the wait between the first and second dose is even shorter.
Shorter,
Yeah.
21 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
21 days.
Well, the official sanction has come from the Ministry of Health for pregnant women to be vaccinated. But how do you
Convinced.
move it from decision to implementation? And that is where we are right now. Certainly, in my clinic, all my patients are advised to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you say to them, for those who may be
Well,
skeptical?
I give them the exact story that we have had an increase in maternal deaths lately. That is probably due to the Delta variant, and that the vaccine offers minimal risk, certainly with the Pfizer even less, and that it's a protection, as I call it, a personal protection insurance against hospitalization and death. I must say that the uptake in my clinic has been very good.
Yeah.
But it's the message that has to be done countrywide, because obviously the majority of pregnant ladies go to the public health clinics.
Yeah.
And that is where the message has to change from where it was before, no? And so really, that's the challenge now, that in fact we do implement that decision that was taken at the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
I get the impression that most women will accept it. Okay, most women will accept it. I think we'll have the same percentage of people who will not accept it as the general population. And they increase or they continue to have the risk if they don't. And we just explain that to them.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that the riskiest part of the pregnancy is the third trimester for someone to get COVID. Can you still get the vaccination in your third trimester?
Yes, once you have never had it, you can get it, you know, at any point in time.
Any point during your pregnancy?
At any point in time,
Okay.
right. That's
So even
correct.
if I'm 3 weeks away from my delivery date,
Get
I
it,
can
even
go
if it's only
today.
first dose you might be able to get,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now let's look at one of the things you pointed out earlier, and Dr. Rat, if I could come back to that question, is there a protocol from the Ministry of Health? We've talked very early on about developing protocols for treatment, what to do when there's a full hospital. The tragic story in 2020 was medical professionals having to choose who get ventilator, who doesn't. What is the protocol for treating mothers who are facing severe complications of COVID-19?
As Dr. Koyi mentioned, is the same treatment that we provide to the other patients that require hospitalization.
Yeah.
And we have been updating the protocols and training the staff in the use of the protocol. I just wanted to remind the pregnant women that the vaccines confer protection, not immediately. We need between 14 days and up to a month for the antibodies to kick in and really provide that protection. So the earlier they get vaccinated, the best, because then they would be in better position if they come in contact with persons that are infected.
Of the maternal deaths that we've seen so far, what is the status of the babies?
I think only one of them died pregnant. The rest did deliver their baby. And so far, they're okay.
Yeah. Some were born as preemies?
A few, yes. But the majority were term.
Has there been any, perhaps, study being conducted that shows if the mother contracting COVID-19 has any impact on the development of the child, either in the womb or postpartum?
I think this certainly, if you get infected during pregnancy, it is reported they have a 2 times risk of stillbirths. That means the baby dies in before delivery. There's an increased risk of premature labor. And there's an increased risk of what we call intrauterine growth retardation, which means basically the baby grows small while it's inside the mother's womb. So yes, there are fetal effects of COVID-19 infection.
Wow.
I mean, as I hear all of this, I can only imagine it must be a fearful situation for women who are expecting. One, making the decision to get vaccinated. Two, kind of maneuvering yourself in the healthcare system. My question has to do with what we know of the pregnant population so far. I know people get pregnant every day, so this number changes very rapidly. But what's the uptake for pregnant women in Belize for vaccination?
Marlene, I have to come back with you with that number because it's available but in the BHIS. And but so far we are offering the vaccines during prenatal care, encouraging pregnant women when they reach for their regular checkup after pregnancy to get vaccinated right there at the clinic. So we have seen that, but at least at the vaccination sites, the numbers are low, but we understand that women may not want to go and join a line of 200 persons, no? So, but I can provide you that data later.
Okay. And, you know, we have seen cases where, and I think you used the number of 6%. 6% of people who are fully vaccinated may still end up in a hospital and face severe COVID. Now, let's talk about what needs to be done to protect expecting mothers within the household. Because what you're talking about now is that they are a high-risk group, like when we were talking about diabetics and hypertensives and even people who have other diseases that may be suppressing their immune system.
Well, the pregnant woman, if she has these comorbidities, that put them at increased risk, you know. I think if you look at, and I don't have the details, obviously, but I think if they are obese, you know, the body mass index above 25, you know, and a lot of pregnant women fall into that category. If they have hypertension and diabetes, they also fall into that category. So pregnancy just adds to it, and the Delta variant is even more aggressive, you know. If I was looking at the data, I was thinking about the data that Dr. mentioned, that we have had 402 women who have been positive since the pandemic began, no? I was looking at the fatality rate of about 2.04. I think the last figure is given on Friday. That would mean you would expect about 8 deaths from the pregnant population. And overall, and Dr. mentioned she had 2 last year and 6 this year, that would be 8. So it's fitting into the statistics, that overall statistics overall, you know. So it doesn't seem to be as excessive. However, you know, and obviously if you have 2 last year and 6 this year, it looks excessive for this year. So, I'm sorry, what is the question? I forgot.
I know you got sidetracked. No, but then you also triggered another question, Amy. The difference, though, is that last year, when there were only 2, we didn't have access to vaccinations. This year we do.
Yes,
that's true. Well, you know, you don't have the full effects of the vaccination as yet, you know, and we don't have the data as to who are vaccinated at the moment, but I suspect since that ministry's official release is about probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks old, I can't remember, we wouldn't have had much pregnant women running to get the vaccine. I don't see we'll see that protection until later on.
So we should be treating, I mean, it's like an elderly person at home. Is that how we're supposed to approach having
that
a
was the question, I think. I don't remember. I got sidetracked. You know, obviously these are times and you try not to get pregnant. So I'm telling my patients, you know, until you become fully vaccinated, and you're not pregnant, try to delay it in one way or another. To that, if you are pregnant, then go ahead and take the vaccine. You continue doing all those public health measures. I tell my patients who are working to try, if the job allows it, to work at home. Two is, the second point is that for women who cannot work at home, at work to follow the public health measures, with the screen and what have you, I advise the women who are pregnant and are working, to take their Social Security sick leave at 33 weeks, Most women like to take their maternity leave 1 week before they deliver.
Yeah.
And I know because they want
The time
13
after
weeks
with the baby.
afterwards.
Yeah.
But I'm now telling them, no, take your 7 weeks before, because you want to be away from work. You want to decrease your exposure. Take your maternity at 33 weeks, go home and stay home to decrease the risk in that third trimester that we're talking about,
That must be a difficult sell, though, because when you look at the idea that traditionally, as you've mentioned, pregnant women wait until the very last week for them to go on maternity
Yes,
leave.
but remember that we're in different times now. So most have agreed to it, that yes, I want to pick up. Women want to protect themselves
Protect
and
the
protect
baby.
the unborn. So when you tell them go home and stay home, you decrease the risk of an infection. They agree to it. They agree to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And for you, Dr. Beer, what's been the messaging? I know you spoke of the rural community nurses, the community nurses as well. How are they trying to convince pregnant mothers, expecting mothers, to get vaccinated and also to keep themselves safe from COVID?
Yes, well, from last year, with the start of the pandemic, we have been recommending that the usual messages that we give to the general population, you wear your face mask at all times, keep physical distance, avoid crowds, avoid coming in contact with persons that are ill, and more important now today, because of the different presentations of the COVID. COVID is not like as it started. A lot has been changed with the clinical symptoms that patients may be presenting. So avoid contact with any person that is ill. And I agree with Dr. Koye, we should get them to go home earlier and work from home if required. I just want to bring to the table a picture, of a situation that may occur to help get the message home. Obesity is a risk during pregnancy. Pregnancy alone is a risk. Now, if a woman have to undergo a cesarean section, that's another great risk. And then if she is COVID positive, then that is 4 great risks at once. So if women can eliminate COVID by accepting the vaccine, then that would cut down that tremendous risk of severe illness and potential death that is associated with COVID-19 with pregnancy. The risk is low, but the risk is there. So eliminating that one risk will definitely contribute to improve maternal health in Belize. I would like to highlight also that, a lot have been said about the blood clots associated with the use of COVID-19 vaccines. But in 2020, in Belize, we had a total of 20 deaths due to pulmonary embolism. And we never had vaccines in 2020. And just for our first quarter, I know we had 4 cases of pulmonary embolism, and 3 of them occur outside of the period of when the vaccines were available. And the one that occurred after the 1st of March, when the vaccination campaign was launched, that person was not vaccinated. So a lot of misinformation is out there. People need to get the information clear, and follow the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the World Health Organization recommendations, and get the facts, because we're making decisions sometimes on information that is not reliable.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Dr. Koy, you mentioned the risk factors for women in their third trimester because they already have a bit of breathing difficulty. If they get severe COVID, they can't, lie down in a way that will be helpful for them to recover. But we've learned since last year that COVID-19 is not just a respiratory illness, it's systemic. Are we seeing different reactions in pregnant women as to what's affected when they are facing severe complications?
The same, they pass through the same.
Yeah.
Initially, it's a pulmonary disease, but if it gets complicated, it affects all the systems.
Yeah.
They follow the same pattern.
Yeah, because people end up with dialysis, people end up
Right.
with, I know some brain issues as well.
Precisely. And you have to remember that the management or the treatment of COVID infection, there is no specific treatment for it. All the treatment I mentioned, the 5 factors I mentioned, they're all to help the person to get over the viral illness. There is no magic bullet that says, I give you this drug, you will get better. It's, it doesn't exist. So basically what we do is called supportive therapy. Keep you alive, keep you going as much as possible while your body gets over the infection. That is the whole aim. We haven't had a therapy that we give you this magic bullet and tomorrow you walk out. That does not exist.
Yeah. All right. So one last advice to expecting mothers or women who want. You said earlier that you're actually encouraging people to not get pregnant. This reminds me of the days of Zika, where I know that was also the advice coming out from the Ministry of Health then, because of the fear of the baby facing complications. So part of what we're saying is
the same thing.
If you can delay pregnancy right now, choose to do so.
Yes, and I'm sure we're going to, when Doctora gives these figures, she will have a decreased fertility rate. We normally have about 7,000 and change deliveries per year. I don't know if Doctora has figured as to what happened last year. In terms
last year, we had less deliveries in Dr. Quinn.
Yeah.
You would expect it.
Yeah.
Secondary to the lockdowns, I guess.
I was going to say lots of curfews too,
Yeah.
So
well, that goes against the wisdom that if you're at home more often with your partner.
So that's one aspect. If you can delay your pregnancy, that's part of the advice until things are under control or until you're fully vaccinated.
That is correct.
And if you are pregnant and still on the fence about vaccination, Doctora, what do you say to those moms out there?
I totally agree that the 2 most important one is delay pregnancy and get vaccinated. Those are the 2 most important messages that we need to get across as clear as possible. Now, for those who cannot delay or do not want to delay the pregnancy, well then, if you are not vaccinated, first thing should be get vaccinated because it's your protection of your child, and the protection of the other persons in the family and persons that you come in contact with. But most importantly, your personal protection and your child, protecting your child against the virus.
All right. Final words?
Well, final word, well, not related to pregnancy, but certainly I think we can stop this pandemic and the spread of it, but we have to be responsible for it.
Yeah.
It can't be SIs that's going to do it. People will go against the SIs because it's not good or it's not strict enough or too strict. Those are just guidelines. At the end of the day, we personally have to take that responsibility to not to spread it. And so, stay home.
Yeah.
Stay home. Go out as little as possible.
Let me just expand the conversation ever so briefly before we close. We were talking before the break that, before we started, that we were awaiting the peak. Are we now at the peak of this particular wave? What are the indicators saying?
I think Doctor has the epidemiology.
Yeah?
I don't think we're at the peak yet. If we don't implement the measures consciously, I agree with Dr. Koi. I mean, there should be no need for an OSI if everyone was to do their part.
Yeah.
So, but the numbers are still increasing.
Well, it will take 2 weeks if we say the SI measures are effective. It will take you 2 weeks to begin to see a result. So I would say if it's working, I think that we are 1 week now, right?
Yeah, we're 1 week in.
So by next week, we should see a decrease. So that is just
That's what we're
thinking
working
aloud.
towards.
That's theoretical.
That's theoretical. We're gonna see.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in and having this very important conversation. I know that the idea of losing moms who just delivered the babies or moms who are expecting is one that is extremely heartbreaking for everyone to hear. And so if we can prevent it by having them stay safe at home or delay their pregnancy, and most importantly, get vaccinated, then we hope that that message has gone out this morning. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we've talked about online schooling for children, but how about vocational schools? How are they coping? We'll find out after the break.
This COVID update was brought to you by Voltex Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor, and you'll be 35% more productive. At Voltex Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Voltex Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
The COVID vaccines that we have available are very effective and safe. And it is very important for elderly persons and frontline health workers and other frontline workers to get it, because these vaccines protect you from becoming ill if you get COVID.
As COVID-19 vaccines are approved for use in the general population, monitoring for safety continues. Each COVID-19 vaccine goes through the same clinical trials and rigorous study as with all other vaccines, with the focus on safety and efficacy.
Nothing goes into the nucleus, nothing affects the genetic code of the human. It is a very safe vaccine. This is a vaccine that we all need to take because it will keep us safe.
Vaccines bring us closer.
The vaccine is now available. We here at R&G Life encourage you to take the vaccine. Belize, it's time to roll up our sleeves.
I'm rolling up mine because I know what COVID can do to families.
Because I want to go back to the way things were.
I'm rolling up mine so that I'm able to do music again.
Because I want to protect my family.
Things are slowly getting back to normal. The new normal, which includes getting vaccinated. Trust the facts. When your turn comes, take the opportunity to get vaccinated. Roll up or believe.
Hey son, how was your first day at sixth form?
Really cool.
It was great to see my friends, and I really love my teachers.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm sorry I wasn't there for your first day, but I'll be back from Corozal next week.
It's okay, Dad. I can't wait to see you. Oh, and please remember, I still have some books I need to purchase.
Ah, yes. Let me e-cash you that right now. Money has been sent. I add a little extra cash just for you.
Whoa, Dad. Thanks. Got it.
You're welcome, sir.
Download the eCash app today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257. eCash, the future is here.
To decrease your risk of being bitten by infected mosquitoes, use proven personal protective methods too. Apply an effective mosquito repellent to exposed areas of skin according to manufacturer's instructions. Wear light-colored long pants and shirts while outdoors in the early morning and late afternoons. Further, protect vulnerable family members like pregnant women, children, the elderly, and persons who are unwell by using mosquito nets to sleep or rest, even during the day. Fight the bite and protect yourself and your family too from mosquito-borne diseases.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
Our second conversation, we'll get you up to speed because you started talking before the break. This is a conversation about how vocational and trade schools are coping during the pandemic. We've talked a lot about online learning and distance learning, but what's happening with these particular institutions and their students? We have with us to share their experience on Zoom. We have Josette Espadas, who is the administrator for IT Vet Orange Walk. We have on set with us Denroy Tillett, who is the manager at IT Vet Belize City. And we have Rashid Carballo, who is a teacher at Tabal Trade and Vocational Institute. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into the conversation. We've talked with schools quite a few times about how they have been managing with the pandemic, challenges they're seeing, opportunities they're making the most of. What's the situation with vocational schools? Let's start with you, Denroy.
Okay. Well, the vocational schools, to me, I believe, took the hardest hit when it comes to online education. Last year, I believe, and Josette will be able to tell you for Orange Walk as well, we jumped directly into trying to make the best of the online situation. We got our teachers quickly trained in using one of the online platforms, learning application platforms. And we got students sign up into doing it online. But pretty soon we found out that while that is one way to try to get them into still learning something, it's only the theoretical aspect. And having lost that work-based learning, that practical assessment, practical development in the labs, quickly made us realize that we have to return to face-to-face when it comes to TVET. Right? We did alternative methods, but it's just not like being there in those labs.
Over the course of the pandemic, have you had any opportunity to get back to face-to-face?
Yes. We fought, well, let me not say fight, we lobbied with the ministry, and of course the Ministry of Education with the government that was in at the time, saw the need as well, and we got the institutions to open up in April.
Okay.
And this was along with many other schools as well. Of course, we had to apply and prove that the institution is safe for the students, but we did do some practical development, and we did manage to get students to complete, trainees to complete by July.
One would think that perhaps because when you think of vocational studies and what have you, these particular courses, that you have a smaller population of people you're dealing with, so perhaps it would be easier to have them face to face. Because when you think vocation, you're thinking mechanics, you're thinking plumbing, for instance, you're talking catering and all these other stuff.
Yeah.
What are some of those challenges that you're facing now that would prohibit you from being able to have these individuals in person around the various labs and what have you?
Well, challenges now that even if they're online, we have the challenge of students' connectivity, having devices. I'm not sure if we had any that have actual electricity, lack of electricity at home. I don't think so, from the little survey we did. But even that can be a challenge in itself. And even with having, I mean, those that don't have them already are at a disadvantage. We create learning application packages, just like other schools, to give them handouts to read. We give them videos. Some teachers are creative in going into the lab and video what they're doing live in the synchronous session. But it's still not enough, and the students are still not getting those specific skills. So the challenge there, then, it creates a lack of interest eventually.
Especially if they're practical learners.
Last year we started with about 132 students, and by April, May, when we returned to practical, we had half of that at IT Vet Belize City. It was quick, the interest dropped quickly, because these students sign up for a TVET institution because they're hands-on. It is the competency-based system, not the academic base. So being there online to them is that academic base. They're just getting theory. They just have to read. They just have to write something, and that's not them.
Essentially, the same things they would have been running away from in a normal high school setting is what they would be relegated to now, because they don't have that actual physical contact, right?
A 50% drop in enrollment. That's
roughly, a little bit over. A little bit, sorry, less than 50%.
Let's get Gisette in, because I know Orange Walk has been working. You've diversified what you've been offering as well. How have you been coping?
Good morning again. Since March of 2020, we have been doing online classes. As Mr. Tillett said, we did have the chance to return to campus. We returned in June and July. And I must say thank you to my instructors, the maintenance personnel, the security guards, the office personnel, all the team. Essentially, we had zero contaminations or zero cases on campus. So we returned safely, and the trainees were grateful for that, because, of course, the online, as Mr. Philip also said, the instructors are very creative, showing demos, themselves doing practicals, but it's different. That hands-on is different. We are a trade school. We didn't have much of a dropout rate, or trainees who are excited to come back. This year, we are up to 290 trainees. We are still coping with the online classes, or our instructors have to get self-taught in the use of Google Classroom, of course, with the assistance of administration, and in having them have in-house workshops. We do the work packages for those trainees who unfortunately do not have access to internet or to a device. As you can see there on screen, that's our auto mechanics instructor in his workshop teaching. He was showing them a little video, a demo of the actual segment that they're on, and the actual part that they're on in their curriculum. But it has been, we have had some difficulties, but we have also had some successful trainees we did complete in July, as I said, for many, which the transition from the virtual to the hands-on in class was a little bit smooth because, of course, they were there every day. So since March of 2020, when the initial lockdown started, we jumped on the opportunity to do this online class and the posting of work and the doing of work, and even having WhatsApp groups so that the students or the trainees and the instructors can communicate even after having classes. We tried our best to give that extra to our trainees and not shortchange them as much. We know this pandemic has caused havoc all around, and Tibet schools are not an exception, but we've tried.
So you said you haven't seen much dropout, but is the enrollment the same as your average intake?
Honestly, yes, we've had the same enrollment.
Okay.
We tried as best as possible because we go through a process where we do an initial interview. Of course, all safety protocols were established during this interview, and the trainees and the parents were excited. They are still excited to join the Orange Walk IT Vet. On a daily basis, we still have people coming to pick up applications. We still have people enrolling because, of course, we have that open entry, open exit policy here where they can start at almost any time in the training cycle. So I must say for us here in the north, or at least in Orange Walk, we have had a steady intake, and our intake, as I said, to date is 290. We're normally at 300, 310, so I would say fairly we're at the same spot.
And is it the same demographic, or are you seeing a change in the students who are enrolling?
It's the same. We have the same, the high school students, the high school leavers, the students who really just are adamant that they want TVET education, and we have to place them in the pre-vocational group, of course, because they haven't completed high school. So that eagerness to join the technical vocational field is still there.
Okay. Let's get Rashid into the conversation at this point. What is the situation you guys are faced with at Tubal?
So basically, we are a bit similar to ITVET because we have experienced more students in the past, but we are at a low number now, probably under 50, because the students that we do cater to around that area in which Tubal is, a lot haven't registered, a lot haven't came out. And when it comes to working with the students, we do, as a body at Tubal, we had agreed to do the package as well because most of our students cannot afford the devices, probably, and not even the internet. So we had agreed to have them come in on a one-on-one basis. So probably for the practical part of it, they would come in and me and the student would have like a one-on-one session. When it comes to the practical, we had do it in a way that we can facilitate at least all our students throughout the week on a scheduled basis.
Yeah. So less students does allow you to be able to do those one-on-one practicals.
Yes.
But I have a question. So it's very different realities, clearly, Orange Walk and here in Belize City with Tubal and Belize City ITVET seeing a reduction in number of students. Do you know if it is if it's attributed towards the way the classes are going online, being more academic focused, theory focused, or is it also financial issues? Because we know the economic loss is also a big issue with dropout rates in some of the schools.
It is that socioeconomic factor. There are a lot of trainees for us that live in the River Valley area as well. They travel from Boom, they travel from the Boom area, they travel from the northern villages. We have a few west, the Hattieville area and up to St. Matthews. And the Ministry of Education would have had school buses running, and that would appease a lot of the traveling finances. And since that stopped as well, they're not able to come into the city. So that's one thing that stopped a lot of them from coming last April. The other is, again, some of them were not able to pay their school fees, even though the school said, okay, come in, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
We give discount, we try to create a payment plan, but there's still those that could not afford it. Many of them would have had the parents or guardians that worked in the tourism industry and other industries that were hit very hard. So it is, to me, in our little research that we've done, is the socioeconomic factor that played a big role, along, of course, with the fact that they rather be hands-on and practical. The demographics did play a big role as opposed to Orange Walk people and Belize City. It has a lot to do with culture as well, I must tell you. Yes, from my point of view and looking at it, I mean, everywhere I go, I meet someone from Orange Walk in the entire country. They're not afraid to go somewhere, work.
Yeah.
It's something cultured in that district. And in the city now, we have a different mentality, or we're a culture of people who, yes, they want to stay and remain in the city. And there are other factors, of course, that add to it, but certainly the culture and behavior of people.
In that case, I would want to think that, for instance, for Tubal, since it's Ladyville-based, you have perhaps a majority of your student population from in and around that area, correct?
Correct. Yeah, leading up to Moscow, have some students that come from Moscow.
I mean, it's fascinating, just the different perspectives for 3 vocational schools. One, you're doing paper-based. You guys recognize there's probably not going to be access to digital devices for the majority of students, so you went with your packages. You're doing some online and some packages as well. I know, Josette, you said that you guys are doing online.
Out of the 290 trainees that we have, we only have 20 of them doing paper packages or package-based learning. As I said during the initial interview that we had for registration, we did express to the parents that we will be doing online, and most of them made an effort to get a device or to try to get internet at home or try to find a way for their son or daughter to be on the online classes.
It sounds to me that your students have a lot more parental involvement. Is that a part of what you think is driving the push for them to complete their certificate, their course?
I must say we're very grateful that we have a good parent base at our institution. Our parents are very much involved. We are just last week, for example, we had our virtual parents meeting. This week we're having the one for the other 2 groups. So we try to keep in communication as much with the parents. We also have WhatsApp groups for our parents. So I do believe that that triangle, as they call it, the parent, institution, trainee, does work, and it has helped us a lot, especially in these trying times of online classes.
What about the economic impact? Are people able to cover the cost of going to the school?
As Mr. Tillett said, we do have some trainees who parents have lost jobs. Here in the north, the free zone was a big deal when they closed down. Most parents have jobs there or in the sugar industry. But we are flexible. We do understand that we're in difficult times economically because of the pandemic. And we do liaise with the parents and we speak with them and we make payment plans for those who really can't afford, but we know that they have that urge to be at school. So the finances, the economic stability in Orange Walk does affect the enrollment or does affect the student coming to school or being online. In June and July, we did have that little challenge of trainees not being able to travel because they depend on the free buses from the government. But thankfully, out of the 3 buses that come, 2 of them still were able to bring in or bus in our trainees. So that did help us too.
So what's the plan, Tenroy? I know that the Ministry of Education has been kind of consulting around with different institutions. They've done surveys looking at low enrollment and dropouts in schools right here in Belize City. What is the plan of action moving forward? You know the importance of what your institution offers. I'm sure there has to be some kind of move to get things back in shape.
Well, one of the things, we have limitations to what we can do. one of the things we try to do, because even some teachers have those limitations as well. We have a couple teachers who do not have like a laptop, or if they had it spoiled and getting it replaced is not readily available. So we try to work with the businesses to get discounts for them to buy a device, to get a payment plan. Full Tech is working with us, and it's open for students and teachers. Besides that, we also, like what Mr. Spadas mentioned, we have the open entry policy. We started out at the beginning of, midway through August with about 70 students. Now we're up to about 95. So we still have enrollment coming in.
Okay.
It's slowly, but it's coming in. I guess they realize that they need to return to an educational institution, or especially a TVET institution, to get some kind of practical or hands-on training that they can even be self-employed. And the training we provide do open for them to be self-employed. Mr. Carballo can tell you that even in his area that he teaches, that once they're finished, they are capable enough to open their own little small business. So that's the avenue we're looking at, re-advertising, reaching out like what we're doing. That's why we're getting slowly people to sign in, and also create new programs. We have on stream a new program coming in with solar and renewable energy at ITVET Belize City. I've also spoken to a couple business areas. For example, we're working with one business in offering auto body, where the students will go to that specific business to do the training. And then in January, we have another one with transmission, specific in automotive, but in transmission again, where the students will go to that business to do the training. So we have to look at innovative ways to attract trainees, students to the institution, so that they see that they can do specific training that can benefit them in the future. I mean, during this pandemic, it's not only the students that are finding it difficult socioeconomically, but all of us.
Well, I was going to ask that, because I know a big part of what you do, apprenticeship is built in. You know, you want businesses to be able to take in some of your students to learn on the job.
Yes.
But at a time where businesses are scaling down because of loss of income, how easy is it to get them on board with the apprenticeship program?
Well, it's the concept of reskilling and upskilling. Again, Mr. Carballo can tell you in his area you can reskill. There's new and innovative ways in cosmetology that they can learn. In automotive, it's no longer just dealing with an engine now, but it's autotronics, dealing with the electrical part of the engine and engine system, similarly with the transmission. So, and then it's the upskilling part is where we realize what industries are needed out there, and where students can get direct training for those. Look at the ladies down south who are engaged in solar panels.
That's a perfect example.
And here in the city, that's not available. It's up in Belmopan. So that's one direction we look at ITVET Belize City, along with working with the Ministry of Education, of course. And we're soon to open that lab. Nice. Well, it's in the process for solar and renewable energy. So you have to look at what is needed out there in the market, and how we can encourage young people to come in. And these are skills that are future skills that are needed, or skills that are needed now, and they can go get trained for it. Last week we were in discussion with Santander. We actually placed some students out there in apprenticeship, and they're going to be employed as well.
Nice.
So
I know, and marketable skills are important. Rashid,
yes, marketable.
You are at Tubal, you are one of their instructors. You're offering cosmetology courses. Talk about some of the courses that are offered there and where people seem to have most interest.
Okay, so at Tubal, some of the courses that we do offer is in construction, electrical, carpentry, and before that, before the pandemic, they did had more courses that was offered. However, they had to cut down because, like you said, the school is not making enough to pay the other instructors. So they probably got the courses that had more intake and keep those and release the others.
And your cosmetology course?
It's fairly new. It's the first time they're doing it.
And what's been the interest so far?
Well, we have a open entry as well, whereby we are still taking in interested applicants that want to sign up, because the course is fairly new. It's, like I said, many times when courses are new, it takes time for it to grow, because people probably is not hearing about it as the other courses as well.
So what would you guys be doing to sort of either market the course or generate the kind of interest that would be necessary for persons to enroll?
So we are doing our marketing, correct. However, we wanted to do more outreach when it comes to like going to schools and stuff like that. But however, because of the pandemic and schools are closed, what I would do personally, what I want to do is reach out to other schools and present it to them and see where we move out from there.
And that's a skill that people can always, even if they can take it on as a full-time profession, or they can also do it in addition to other jobs as well.
Yeah, because I was working before at a bank and was doing it. And I see the need for it and I went into it full-time. However, I always feel as if, because I have this talent, I want to share it. And hence the reason why I started to teach it.
Let's talk about the courses that Belicity IT Vet has.
Well, we have automotive with Autotronics, carpentry, electrical installation, cosmetology, food preparation, food and bar service, hospitality skills for the hotels, and welding.
What's been the hardest one to translate online?
It will be the automotive for sure, and the welding. Last year we realized that, well, for a course like cosmetology that we offer for the food preparation, food and bar service, it was easier for the students to do their work at home, video what they're doing, or even taking still photos and send it to the instructor for assessment.
Okay.
But when it comes to the welding or automotive, and even the carpentry,
the tools.
The tools and the place to do it. So those were harder courses to do at home, unless there's a business that allow the trainees to go there and do the practical. You see, so it's where we have to work along with industry to get these skills to be done while we're in online training.
And where do you see the largest interest right now?
In our electrical and AC and refrigeration. I forgot to mention AC and refrigeration as well. Electrical and AC and refrigeration, that's a course that gets filled even before school opens. Even before we say that we're taking new intake. Those are, and we normally have like 40 students in that course, those courses, electrical and AC, because we offer them as a pair, and that's filled already. We also have evening electrical installation level 1 and level 2, and those are always full as well. In fact, we're supposed to advertise it, I believe, as of this week, and already we have the level 1 full, and we haven't even advertised it, opening to the public as yet. You see, so it's always electrical and AC, then followed by the food prep, the cosmetology, and the welding and auto.
Okay. And for you, Gisette, what's being offered? Did you have to scale back on any courses?
Well, thankfully, no. We had to actually cut down because too much people wanted to attend. We have what we call our technician programs. We've changed from the track system where we offered 3 trades to now our technician program where we offer 2 solid trades. This year at level 1, we have 5 of them running, which is the automotive technician, which is the combination of auto mechanics and electrical. The computer technician, which is the combination of computer service and repairs and web programming. Construction technician, which is the combination of plumbing and AC and refrigeration. Facility maintenance technician, which is the building and grounds maintenance with general construction, and the construction technician number 14, which is the home repairs and electrical installation. Of course, these are running as well with our pre-vocational program, which is the 2-year program for those students who came out from Standard 6, their first farm and second farm. We give them the background necessary before going into the trades. Of course, because the trades are at a post-secondary level, and we insist that it is both theory and practical, because if let's say, for example, you go to Belize Diesel and Equipment, you're doing auto mechanics, and your supervisor leaves you with a manual to fix a part for the vehicle, and you don't know to read and write or do calculations, then how would you be able to do what is necessary? So we insist that for technical and vocational education, you do need both theory and practical.
Yeah. All right. So let's just close off by having, so all of you have open enrollment, which means at any point during the year, if there is a person who wants to enroll in one of your courses, they can, if it's not filled.
Yes,
Correct.
if it's not filled.
All right.
And we also offer for people that is working and want to learn a trade as well.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you sharing with us just how you've been coping through the pandemic. Any final thoughts for our viewers?
Well, for us here in Orange Walk, we just want to give a big thank you, first of all, to the parents and to the trainees for trusting us. I want to take this opportunity publicly to thank the parents for having their trainees being vaccinated. We know that the vaccines are very important for us to get that 70% to be able to open up our institution and have our trainees come in. Thanks to the Ministry of Education for their support, their constant support. Thanks to the Orange Walk IT Vet team for being there constantly, to our instructors who I know are a little bit stressed out because of this online, to our maintenance and security for keeping us safe on campus, both from the public and from the virus. And thanks to our manager, Mr. Armando Gomez, for always being the backbone of our institution. And we continue thriving. COVID-19 cannot bring us down.
All right.
Yeah, well, for me, I want to emphasize the students and getting vaccinated. We started out the year on the premise that if we would have majority or all of our students get vaccinated, we'll be able to have them come to the campus and do the face-to-face practical sessions. And just like what Ms. Espadas expressed, we want to thank our parents as well, and all the stakeholders at IT Vet Belize today, and especially the teachers, because like what she said, they're stressed out. They're not used to online training. They still need more training as we speak in online delivery, and we're learning it together, but we're doing our best. So,
all right.
At Tabal, we want to thank the parents that are entrusting their children with us. However, we are encouraging our students as well to get vaccinated. And so far, as a body of staff, we are vaccinated. As a matter of fact, I have my second vaccine today.
Nice.
And also, we want to thank the director and the assistant director, Mr. and Mrs. Bailey, as well, for opening their doors and continuing.
All right. Well, we do wish you all the best of luck. Very important work that you're doing, and I think it's important for people to know, one, that you're carrying on with your courses, you're finding innovative ways to do it, and if it is today or tomorrow they make the choice that they want to learn a new skill set, they can enroll at one of the IT vets and be able to do so.
well, TVET is the best choice,
Okay.
Just need people to realize that.
All right. With that, though, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.
With the touch of a finger, we can easily unlock our phones and securely gain access to our data. This technology is called biometrics, and the Social Security Board is introducing fingerprint recognition to make transactions and handling of your sensitive data secure, fast, accurate, and convenient. Is your identity safe? Fingerprint recognition will keep your Social Security record secure and confidential while making your access fast and easy. It protects your identity. Is your name a common one? Fingerprint recognition uses your unique characteristics, ensuring your hard-earned benefits go directly to you, the rightful owner. Tired of all the paperwork? Fingerprinting makes this hassle-free. Your convenience and your information security is our priority. Fingerprint recognition coming soon. Social Security at your fingertips.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
This can be you. Get vaccinated. The life you save can be yours. This is a message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Imagine going through your entire day without the burden and risk of carrying cash on you. Belize's shift to digital wallets has begun with eCash. We can now skip the cash when collecting money or paying for our essentials, all while using a fast, easy, and secure platform. Simply add funds to your wallet via bank transfer or at an agent, and you're good to go. You will be able to make quick, easy payments simply by scanning QR codes. And best of all, it all happens just like that. Payments are as easy as clicking a link online or scanning a QR code. Download the eCash app from the Google Play and Apple App Store today and take your first step into a cashless lifestyle. The future is here with eCash. For more information, visit www.e-cash.com or contact us via WhatsApp at 613-0257 to find out more.
The TV you love is always with you, from live TV, sports, and on-demand titles. Choose your plan today. Plans start as low as $15 per month. My TV, entertainment, anytime, anywhere.
And we're back. And of course, we want to say thank you for tuning in today. We had two very different conversations, but so important. One looking at the critical situation of pregnant women and what they face when it comes to COVID-19.
Yeah, I think based on what we experienced last week, or for the past 2 weeks, I would say, in terms of what appeared to have been a rise in the number of maternal mortalities due to COVID, which was punctuated by the death of the individual from Placencia on Friday, it was necessary for us to have this conversation so that expecting mothers and the public in general could have a better understanding of, one, why there is a need for them to be vaccinated. Throughout the course of their pregnancy, it's available to them. And two, you know, it's part of an overall push to raise awareness and to promote the idea of getting vaccinated.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think Dr. Koyi kind of put things into perspective as to the risk factors, which I didn't consider before, for pregnant mothers, especially in their last trimester where the risk is even higher. So we hope that's been helpful information for expecting mothers. And interestingly, that the current medical advice is to delay getting pregnant if you can. All right.
And of course, the final conversation that we had regarding the vocational studies and the fact that they too have had to adjust to accommodate their students because of the pandemic situation, and the fact that some of these courses, either at ITVET or Tobal, have shifted to online to be able to facilitate students who are interested in these various vocational pursuits.
Absolutely. Do remember that all of them have open enrollment. So if you are interested in getting certified in one of these areas, you can enroll in ITVET during the course of the academic year as well. But that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5believe.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelieve. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Believe.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.